All right, let's get ready for the fastest 2 hours in hockey. Nah, not really, but what do you think? How fast is it?
It's pretty fast.
Pretty fast?
I think so.
Okay, let's get it going then.
All right, here we go. If we talk faster, let's go faster.
I don't know. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. It's the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Derek Brandeo and Jake the Serpent Schultz. You've changed his name on me.
So let me ask you. Do you think anybody listens to our show at double time? Because that's an option on like...
At what time?
Double time, like fast.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Maybe not double, but 1.5.
Do you ever listen to a podcast one?
I only listen at like
that's
1.3.
Psychopath behavior.
1.5.
I can't believe that.
It does help, though.
Help with what?
Get you through it faster.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm on the subway twice a day, every day. Like,
the killing 3 hours
the normal
a day.
speed is fine.
So was this you actually wanting to change Jake's nickname, or just you testing me to see if I'm paying attention to your lineup?
Well, I thought we went with the more professional word for snake as a serpent. So,
all right,
because he's been
that
good
works
recently.
for me.
The serpent.
It is misspelled. No!
Is it?
Serpent is ENT, I think.
ENT? I
think so.
That's
listen.
so appropriate. That's awesome
And
stuff.
I'm sitting here, like, you guys, I get to the office today. I've worn my uniform, a hoodie and a hat. Very, very used to that. And you guys don't usually dress like $1 million. I walk in here, and these two guys, I feel like I'm at a Halloween party, no costume. Like, I'm like, what? You guys make me look more stupid than I usually do.
We have a reason.
Yeah, we do.
I know.
Yeah.
We're on the game tonight.
We are, but for now, we've got wherever you're watching and listening on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. We got Leaf Hour Edition. Then we go into a national show. And to your point, JB, we race over, and we've got literally less than 30 minutes between our show and the pregame show.
Start of the show, yeah.
For Toronto and Anaheim. The Ducks are in town making their only visit tonight at Scotiabank. They are on the second half of a back-to-back. You covered them last night with the game between Ottawa and Anaheim.
And let me tell you, they are must-see TV. You will not want to miss this.
I had to say, I was watching the broadcast last night.
Yeah.
And when we had Ben in, my nephew, we did a tour of like the NHL studio.
Mm-hmm.
I got to tell you, I was blown away by you guys sitting in those seats. Like CGI.
Crazy.
Or whatever the hell it is.
Graphic, eh?
It was unbelievable. And it really looked like when they zoomed in on you guys, it really looked like I was amazed by that. Whoever did that over there, you guys are amazing.
Okay. I don't want to put a downer on it.
Oh, here we go.
And I'm not saying it didn't look good.
Yeah.
This is the part I hate.
Oh, no.
It's fake.
Yeah.
It's phony.
Oh, they didn't go to sit in a rink with seats?
No. I'm not happy every time I pick up my phone and I don't know what to believe, what's real and what's not real.
You know what? That's a fair complaint.
That's it.
Yeah.
I have enough of it. I got to look twice to think, where are you?
It is so true.
It's fake, fake TV. And I'm buying into I'm not happy about fake TV all the time.
I gotta believe the next generation is going to be good at discerning. Well, it's going to be harder and harder to what's fake and real.
Like, did you see something today? Because you sent a very text about Corbin Burns and the Jays. Did you see something fake that got you there?
Of course I did. Oh. Of course. Every time I see something, I don't believe it. So you're my Blue Jay expert.
Yeah,
because someone said that he signed with the Jays, and I'm like, I don't believe it until I go to Sammy.
He didn't.
You did.
He didn't.
And if you read Ben Nicholson-Smith and Shai Davini's latest from Sportsnet.ca, I don't think he's coming. Anyways.
Okay. Just one last thing on this, fake computer enhanced
Augmented
TV.
reality.
Yes.
I believe they call it AR.
Are they going to put us in a closet one day and make it look like the most spectacular set ever?
Well, no, they're going to send us home, not pay us, and have animated figures.
Yeah, you're just going to have humans that look like, or fake humans that
They're
look
not
like
going to
you.
need us at all.
Yeah.
Okay, you covered the Anaheim Ducks last night.
Yep.
Not their finest effort. They kind of looked like, I'm not sure if that's a real NHL team or not, kind of look. Like are they the worst team in the league?
If the Leafs don't feed them their absolute lunch today, it's embarrassing.
That's the point I wanted to get across, is that based on what you saw last night, is now you and everyone else, including our Sammy here, going to sit and watch tonight and say, if they don't absolutely crush them by X amount of goals, then it's not a good night for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
It would be really bad. The Ottawa Senators had so much room last night. I sent you guys, I think, a screenshot of where the Ducks rank in defensive categories. Expected goals, shot attempts, shots on net, slot shots, inner slot shots, slot passes, OZ possession time, rush chances. Last.
Yeah.
They are dead last in every defensive category. They've played 3 times in the last 4 nights, all road games. Last night, all their guys had a shift of 2 minutes or more, dragging their legs out. Ottawa was running them ragged.
Yeah.
They're the worst team in back-to-backs over the past 2 years in the NHL.
Oh my God.
All they have going for them is this Lucas Dostal,
Yeah.
their goaltender, is 4th best in the NHL in save percentage. He's good. If he doesn't see 40 shots tonight, I don't know what to tell you about the Leafs offense.
So in about half an hour, we're going to welcome in Scott Niedermayer to the program. We got a chance to talk to him a little earlier. He's out in BC, but he was kind enough to join us, special advisor to the Anaheim Ducks. We'll get some thoughts in on him, on where the progress is and this rebuild to get to where he was once upon a time, a long time ago. And that's top of the mountain with the Stanley Cup. But they've got some work to do, no question. As far as the Toronto Maple Leafs are concerned, where do you guys want to start? For me, hearing the news that they're going back to Anthony Stolarz is somewhat surprising to me.
Yeah.
But he will start against one of the worst teams in the league. Let's go to you first, JB.
You know, I don't understand it just because it's not that Stolarz, it doesn't make sense to start a guy who's playing well, but he's been playing well, and he's been alternating with Wall, who's also playing well. Everyone's doing great. Keep them both involved. They're both going to play in a back-to-back this weekend. I really don't get why you would step out of the rhythm here.
I think that he was unbelievable against the Devils.
Good. Yep.
And the only reason they got 2 points against a good team, and he's been really good on home ice, and he earned the start, flat out.
What did Joseph Wall do in his last game?
I would say that he lost to was he in against the Penguins? They lost the Penguins on Saturday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's not good enough to.
So I just think that you have a plan, and Berube's talked about how we have a plan, all these different things. But I do think it's still, it's the
plan.
There you go. It's professional sports. You perform that well. I said it yesterday. I would like to see him start tonight. I'm glad they did it.
Sammy,
I think it's the right call.
They play 11 times in 21 days here. So now he's going to have played 3 times in 6 days or something coming up for this weekend. Where it's like, do you need to lean on a guy who's never played this sort of workload in his life?
Okay, let's go to Craig Berube on why Stolarz is starting, and then we'll pick up the conversation out of it.
Looks like you might change your goaltending rotation a bit. Is that based on Stolarz having a really good game, or is that greater plan with the back-to-back coming up?
Back-to-backs too, but, Stoley had one hell of a game. We all know that. So that was the call tonight to go back with him.
There you go. And, former team. He was a Duck at one point. I guess maybe you could look at that. I don't know if that's a factor here, but with all those stats you read off there, I mean, are we expecting a super high impact night here?
Good point.
I think it's just a thing that you reward a guy who's been unbelievable for you to start the year.
Yeah, it might even be a little deeper for me anyways, just in terms of his game was so good.
So good.
That maybe they just want to see if he could follow it up with another one. And I know it'll be a different field, different team. You go from one of the top teams in the league to one of the worst. But if he can pick up where he left off, I think it bodes well that although we believe Joseph Wall isn't going anywhere, right now the projection seems to be that Stolarz will start in the playoffs.
Well, I think that's the greater point here.
And it might feel like a scenario where he stole the game in game 1. You want to see him pick up because he's going game 2. And I just feel like the window's now so tight that he's coming off such a spectacular game that in their minds, maybe it's a feel like, can we go up 2-0 in the series right now by going right back to our best goalie?
Yeah. They do play 3 games in 4 nights here.
And they will split. They will split.
Yeah, but one of those guys has to play 2 of the 3. So, if you think he's hot, I guess that makes some sense. But I love this point where it's like, looking at the big picture, we thought going into the year it was like they want Wall to be the guy. It makes sense for him with the contract, the age, whatever, for him to be the guy. It does feel like it's shifted to where all things equal, they have so much belief in Stolarz. He's bigger, he's competitive, that they would want him to be the guy now.
I think
There's no question in my mind who would be in game 1, but that's now in December. So
Yeah.
it's hard to know.
Yeah.
I do believe that he's had such an amazing start, and we're closing in on Christmas right now, that they've got to really start focusing on, what are we now, 50 games left, that it's going to skew towards Stolarz. But you're going to give Wall enough games and enough starts that, if it goes south on Stolarz early or at any point, you won't be that patient to switch it up if you have to, right? But there's no one on, one off in the playoffs. There isn't. It's the hot guy.
For sure.
And this is just maybe a first chance for Stolarz to go hot in consecutive games.
It's just funny, right? I agree, but it's funny that Wool going into the year is like, all right, I'm going to have a chance to be the 1A. They're bringing in a 1B sort of guy, right, based on contract and whatever. And then he is a .919 save percentage. He's well above, whatever expected goals. He's done wonderfully this year. And now he's like, so I'm out.
Yeah,
But I mean, I understand. He can see what the guy ahead of him is doing.
He's smart enough to understand that if I was a coach or general manager, I wouldn't look at me as being
out.
A guy that deserves equal status right now with Stolarz. That guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been good, but that guy's been out of this world.
Sammy's group chat. Sammy sent us the picture.
Oh, yeah.
They got the banner hanging. It's like Tim Horton, Bill Barilko, Stolarz. They got him in the rafters already. Shout out to
I've seen Legends Row, and it's like this guy is. People love this guy, and how could you not?
Yeah.
How could you not?
Yeah.
I will say that you talk about the playoff stuff, and you've given me the hairy eyeball, as you like to say, when I've said that there's reasons I have more hope about this year and blah blah blah. But hold on.
Yeah.
I do think, because when teams go to the other goalie in the playoffs, I think most times it's more of the backup guy to wake-up call for the starter. This is, if the Leafs go down 2-0 in a series or they lose a bad game and the goalie's bad, you're going to another really good NHL goalie. You're flipping over the page to another guy that's going to give you a chance to win. So, I don't know. It's another the goaltending's really good and gives me hope.
So good in the playoffs
So
last
good.
year, till he disappeared.
And then disappeared. So good. Anyways, that is one of the reasons.
One thing
Kyper.
I'll add about Stolarz, one thing I liked about the game against the Devils is they gave him no support, and he fought and then got rewarded and then got the win. And that builds that mutual trust. And remember, we talked about trust with the goalie last year, where they go, we know he's got our back, and now he knows we've got his. If he keeps us in it, it's really good.
And that's really appreciate the superstar, but he's only playing 20 minutes out of 60. Yeah. That guy he's protecting the wall every single second. Excuse the pun.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. That's the only position. It's like a starting pitcher. You can win 1-0, okay? And you don't necessarily have to get that run in the first 5 or 6 innings. It's when you got a pitcher, you got a
talking
quarterback,
about the Jays offense here?
got a goalie. We can be patient and wait. Yeah. So I wrote an article today in the Toronto Star on it a little bit. We've talked many years over our show since we started together that they've always outscored their mistakes. That's not how they're getting it done now. It's from the net on out.
I will say, as someone who pays attention to the analytics, it's good right now that they are winning. Their goaltending has been phenomenal. The process is a little concerning offensively, but you love that they have the all-stars that they have that can create. Like, usually when teams can't produce offense, they don't have exceptional elite talents like the Leafs. So I feel like they're going to be able to find it. And that's what I wrote about Kip yesterday, was a similar idea that the goaltending has bought them time to figure out the offense, and whether that means trading for additional offense.
Yes.
Matthews finding it a bit more, getting more from the back end. This has bought them time to find it.
I do think that there's this unhealthy pushback against people that suggest that they have some offensive issues right now. I feel like people are like, oh, they're winning. I think it's fair to acknowledge the fact that they cannot create much at all right now. No. But the point that you made is important, that their defensive metrics are excellent goaltending. They can figure it out. They have stars that can get the big goals
before.
Exactly.
And their power play is at 19%. We know it can be a 25% power play. There's more there for this Leafs offense.
Yeah.
And they'll continue to search, I think, internally until we do see a trade eventually for some offense. But we got Craig Berube on a Kyper's Clipper on some of the depth that may be coming back soon in Camp and McMahon. Let's have a listen.
Camp is probably a little bit of ways away yet, but Bobby McMahon is very close. So practice today, he'll skate with us tomorrow, and then we'll see.
So it sounds like a potential for the weekend.
Yeah.
Tonight on the show, we're going to focus a little bit on that left side. I've brought this up on a couple occasions. We're going to kind of focus on it in our pregame show tonight. It's been a sore spot for this team for not just this year, but many years. And there's nothing to not like about Matthew Nyes. But is he quite ready to carry the load as a bona fide number one left winger, which means also producing at a pretty good rate? That hasn't happened. McMahon, to me, is also a key in all of this, that he has not been able to stay healthy to show that he can go to next level 20-20.
Yeah, you can't get to those numbers if you're not in the lineup.
So we'll see where Max kind of fits in the next few weeks. For me, it's got to be somewhere on that left side.
For McMahon, sorry?
No,
or
for
Max
Max.
Domi?
For Max.
Like with Matthews Marner?
Totally.
Something.
Totally.
Something.
Yeah, me too.
Right? I like outside of Max, and then, where you feel about Pacioretty, they've been playing with 2 fourth lines for quite a while now.
Yes, well put.
Yeah.
So
2 fourths and a third when Matthews was out.
Yeah.
time
Lean times.
time now to kind of figure it out. And for me, somewhere in the equation is Max Domi on the wing.
Yeah. One of the things that we do have a clip on is, for Berube, how do you spend less time in the D zone? And that's when I talk about their offense not being good. They've been in their own end a lot. So why don't we listen to him on how they can spend less time in the D zone?
Killing plays quicker and exiting the zone quicker. When we kill plays and get the puck, where's our outs? Let's get going. Transition from defense to offense. We got to be better at that.
Jake McCabe will help.
There it is. That's good news. He's back.
Just to the Domi thing quickly before we move to McCabe. Don't you think, they signed him to a 4-year, $3.75 million for him? Like, to me, the best way to extract the offensive value on that contract is to play him with the star players. That's where he's the best. We've seen him play with Matthews when that stretch when Marner was out, when it was him, Domi, and Bertuzzi. They have chemistry. They like to play together. They're 2 passers on the wing of the center, maybe not to Kipper's favorite thing with the center being the passer. But to me, it's obvious. And you think they'll go to it here somewhat soon, do you think? Or do you?
Can't agree with you more.
Yeah.
I did.
It's the onus now is on Berube to give Max the best chance to find a small window to kind of get going a bit. And it may be with reuniting him with Austin.
Well,
whoever gets a chance tonight should get some points.
I look at that. I look at Holmberg, Minton, and Domi. And, if there's one thing I know about Domi, if you're playing him on a third line with, not offensive players, Minton's got a bit of touch, but Holmberg's got the opposite of it, you're just going to lose him. He's not as involved.
No, he told us he doesn't care if he gets.
No, it's just, but, you're not using him properly. And it's that's maybe it. He doesn't have the experience of having him. Sheldon kind of figured it out towards the end of last year where to play him. But it's just you're losing him playing him on the third line. It's not the right spot for him. So, anyways.
No.
Domi, Matthews, and Marner, to me,
yes,
against Anaheim tonight makes sense.
They would terrorize the Ducks.
Yes.
I did a little thing on Pinto last night, who has 1 goal and 3 assists for Ottawa this year in about 20 games. and looked at the difference for him as line mates. He played last year with Kachuk, Norris, Bathurst, and those guys. This year he's playing with Amadio, Greg, and Gregor. Sorry, and like that to me is Domi. Is like his numbers are down. It's like, well, you know, Holmberg's not going to shoot it in the net. I know he did last game, but it ain't going to happen often. So
Yeah.
Jake McCabe,
Yeah,
he's back.
I think he'll go a long way to helping Craig Berube get the puck out cleaner.
Let's listen. Clip 1 on McCabe coming back.
Yeah, he's a big part of our team back there with, you know, him and Tanny, shut down pair and penalty killing and just, you know, physical play and just, you know, defending and things like that. So he's a big part of our team. So it'd be great to have him back.
One of my favorite ideas for a sports talk radio show, maybe brought this up before, but is the hockey nickname quiz. And Tanev to me, Tanny is not what I would go with.
Wait, Tansy?
Tanner.
Tanner?
Tanny to me doesn't sound right. Anyways, that's a sidebar.
That's a very Jay and Dan.
Tanny.
Luke
Tanny?
Astic knows all the nicknames.
Yeah, I actually should do this with him. Like
He
it's like,
knows all of them.
but like Tanny, it's Tanner. Anyways,
Tano.
go ahead.
Danny Tanner.
Yeah, prior to McCabe going down, him and Tanny
No, it's not right.
No, we can't do it.
It's not right. It's just not right.
didn't roll out that
No.
well. As good as any that we've seen around.
Yeah. And I think he mentioned that clip about how they need to get out of their own end.
Yeah.
That's something I've noticed without him, they've missed. Like just a quick little slip to the middle or break up a play. And obviously Timmins and Myers can't quite do it like McCabe does.
And McCabe's
Caber.
Caber?
sneaky, like sneaky leader in that room.
I don't know if
You
it's
don't
sneaky anymore.
you don't really kind of think about him as that first wave of go-to guys, but I'm telling you right now, he carries a big stick in that room.
Really?
Well, I mean, every time I see him do an interview, the more his nose is broken and the more I respect him as a leader. It's like, this guy looks like he was, if he's not going to be an extra in Peaky Blinders, he's going to be a leader on a hockey team.
I wish I could give credit to whoever I saw put this out, but it was like he looks like he would carry a Tommy gun in a gangster
dressed like
movie.
me.
Yeah, like his face looks like he'd carry a Tommy gun in
Yeah.
a gangster movie.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
He's got some grit to his
He'd
game.
go to your desk and you'd be the banker.
Oh,
And you'd
I'd
be
say,
like,
yes, sir. Whatever
yes,
you
sir,
need.
whatever you
I
need.
definitely get shot in
Yeah.
that scene.
Oh yeah, you're done.
Done like dinner.
Scene one.
By
Done.
order of the Peaky Blinders.
There you go. There you go.
What do you have on Lawrence?
You know that he didn't take a penalty hit this year? He leads the team in hits.
I don't know if that's allowed on like the fourth line.
No penalties.
Listen to the
Yeah,
clip. Listen to the
face
clip
wash someone.
because you don't talk. They don't. I don't think I've heard Berube really talk about Lawrence much, and he's been good. So play the clip on Lawrence. We can talk about.
Yeah, he's been really clean, which is good. You know, he's been physical. You know, he's one of the hit leaders on our team, and you know, I think he doesn't get his stick in bad areas, and he skates. You know, I think when you take penalties, you're reaching from behind, or you're not skating, moving your feet, and your sticks are in bad spots. Whether you know you high stick a guy, or you trip him, or hook him, or whatever. So he's been clean that way with not taking any of those penalties, which is good.
See, now you know we're in another era when
Yeah.
a coach can say that in 2024. If you're on the fourth line in my era, you got goose eggs. It's okay, goals, assists, points.
No way.
Goose egg in the penalty minutes,
Yeah.
not a good look.
No.
And
So
I'm not talking about going out there and tripping somebody.
you're not.
I'm talking about
being enough
Having
on the
it go-
edge. that
having it
sometimes
go
you
by
find-
five.
Hey,
You find the
how
line.
about a scrum where both of you go off for either 2 minutes or 5 minutes?
So the hits leader in the NHL is Kiefer Sherwood with about 163. Lawrence leads the Leafs with 70. Do you know how many William Nylander has?
4.
28 games.
4. I don't know.
Kip?
No.
One.
One.
He threw a body check this year.
One. There's no way that's right.
One hit.
That's some Nylander bias.
Can we
in the league
find it?
office.
Yeah,
Can
it
we
was
go on the
October
TV side?
24th or something. I actually have the stat. Where is it? Yeah, October 24th, he threw his last hit. So, for a player who has seen at least 300 minutes of ice time, he is second lowest. One player in the NHL has played more than Nylander and only thrown one hit. The answer is also shocking. Shea Theodore.
What?
A D-man on Team Canada, thrown 1 hit this year.
Oh, I don't like that.
Other got names in the
Maybe
list.
he's like Lidstrom
Okay,
there. If
I
you
gotta-
got the puck all the time.
I
Tommy
gotta tell-
Novak, Jack Roslovic, Cam Fowler. Cam Fowler has 2 hits this year.
I got to tell you. Theodore, you're off.
That's enough.
Cal, you're done.
You know, my first thought
Get
is,
somebody else in there, bud. You're done.
who's counting?
Exactly.
I want to meet the guy that counts.
Well, the fact is someone's counting, and they have Simon Benoit and Ryan Reeves at the top of the list with Nyes and Lorentz. Like, they're getting it kind of right here.
If
Kinda.
McCabe.
if you went up, yeah, like
Ex-player.
Pacioretty.
Doing the counting?
No.
Has he
it's-
ever?
No, it's an old
Who?
guy with a monocle who just loves being at the
With
games,
this-
but that's fine.
And the
You-
seeing eye dog.
if you go up to Shea Theodore and be like, hey, buddy, you have 1 hit this year, he'd be like, are you nuts?
Yeah.
Are you nuts?
I'm
Like, there's
sure.
no way he would say that he has 1 hit.
But I told you guys, like, Tanev has 5. You know, it depends how you.
Tanev has 5 all year.
All year, 5 hits.
Oh my God, that's wrong.
Wild, eh?
Like,
He's-
what do they?
Good stick, separate.
But like, what makes a hit?
Well, that's very subjective.
Someone like pushing back.
I think someone, you go into someone hard enough that they stop their movement. How's that?
Okay.
Close.
We got to go here soon to get to Niedermayer, but there's this clip that I had to defend my Toronto people, my Toronto brethren. Can you play this clip 7 from Berube, please, Derek?
Were you guys okay out there today? A little windy and cold for you? Or are you all right?
You made it through. Hardy Westerners like
I had a T-shirt on coming in the truck this morning.
Alberta guy.
Was it -6 today?
Listen,
yeah, feels like
It was
minus
chilly out there today. Like,
14.
there's no question it's cold. But
Yes.
like, why do people that are from outside of Toronto gatekeep the cold? Like, oh, you're not allowed to be cold because you're from Toronto. It's not cold there. It's not cold. I hate that. All I ever hear, like my city buddy from Owen Sound, they're like, oh yeah, it's supposed to snow 80 centimeters up here. You get any down there? Like, no one. Just stop that. Stop gatekeeping the cold people from outside of Toronto. It's so stupid.
We went through the same thing when I first went to training camp with the Philadelphia Flyers. It's like the Western Hockey
Oh,
League would laugh at us
yeah.
in the Ontario League
Yeah.
for just not being
Oh,
yeah.
remotely
all the
tou-
boys in
no,
Saskatoon. It's
not remotely as tough as them.
Oh yeah, it's not.
And
It's
we
not
were like-
cold in North Bay, eh? Like it never gets cold there. Like, give me a break.
buddy. We can't pretend that it's
Yeah.
not colder there.
Of course it's
but
colder.
They don't need to be.
Of course it's colder.
Yes.
We get it. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, but they're like, it's just the insinuation. You're so soft because it's not
I
cold.
know.
It's like, shut up.
I will tell you, lived in Alaska for years.
Listen.
It's cold and it's not fun.
No,
And
it's cold.
not anything to be proud of.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, the guys like wear shorts in the winter. Like, we get it. You're the toughest guy ever.
You're
It's
so
not cold.
tough.
It's not cold.
Ruby's mom gave birth in an igloo. All right, he can handle
For the
the
record.
cold.
He's cold.
He is tough. So
Oh, he's-
no,
he's-
no
I mean,
challenge to him.
But I actually
specifically.
would say that he might have worn a t-shirt today.
For sure.
Like, I actually believe him. Anyways, we should go.
Okay, we'll take a quick break, and when we return, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, Hall of Famer, Scott Niedermayer, next on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. As we mentioned before the break, we caught up to Hockey Hall of Famer Scott Niedermayer just prior to the show. Let's have a listen. The Ducks continue their tour in Canada tonight with the second half of a back-to-back. Ottawa last night, Toronto tonight at Scotiabank Arena. Joining us now, Hall of Famer, one of the best in the game, 4-time Stanley Cup champion, Scott Niedermayer. Scott, thanks for doing this, man. Where do we find you these days?
I'm out in British Columbia at the moment, at home here. So be watching tonight.
Awesome. Let's just start with the Ducks in general. I think, it's safe to say that you were there at the peak with a Stanley Cup championship, and then just the ongoing rebuild to get to that point again. Little level of frustration at times. You watch him maybe take 2 steps, maybe 3 steps backwards. Where do you have their program right now moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know if you can ever go through something like this quick enough. No one likes to, everyone likes to win. No one likes to lose. And you get in these positions. We got a lot of young players, and this is a tough league. That's for sure. And you always want to be taking steps forward. And sometimes the journey is not always forward. There's a few steps backwards, but I feel our play this year has been good. We were having a hard time scoring goals. It looks like we've made improvements in some areas. When you watch our games sort of night in and night out, we look better. We're just really not getting the results right now. And hopefully at some point that will come. We can break through and score some goals to help us get on the winning side.
Scott, I'm sure they're pleased to have someone with your career success involved, staying with the organization. What is your role with the team right now? What do you find yourself doing on a day-to-day with the Ducks?
The title is advisor, and I kind of do a little bit everything, a little player development, talk with management a bit, as well as the coaching staff. So try and catch up with the team. I currently live up in BC, so I'm not with them full time, but I do try and catch up with them every 5 weeks, every month to watch some games live, see some games in San Diego as well, and just stay in touch with the team so I can give some advice that hopefully is worth something.
Got to ask you about the most recent acquisition of Jacob Trouba. It's not quite in the we just acquired Scott Niedermayer kind of level, but what do you see in that move? Why would a Pat Verbeek go after him at this point of the program, and your overall thoughts of bringing a guy like that in?
I think one of the things that we're trying to do is bring in true pros, guys that have played in the league for a while, to really be an example for our young guys. I know my personal situation when I started playing in New Jersey. Our whole team was full of veterans, especially on the back end, Tenure pros. It was a great situation for me to be in, just to watch these guys, to see what it took to be an NHL player, to be successful. And I think that's what we're trying to do. If we can get some guys in that have had success in this league, that have been really good players, play with an edge, play hard, compete hard. I think that's what we're trying to build as far as our culture in Anaheim, is a hard competing team. Obviously, Pat, as the GM, was a tough player, a competitive player, and that's what he wants our team to be.
You got a couple of young guys on the back end there, Mintyukov and Zellweger. What are your thoughts on how they've been for the Ducks so far?
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch. It is definitely not a straight line. Mintyukov had a great year last year as a first year. He's come in his second year and maybe found it, not quite as smooth. Whereas Zellweger started in the minors last year and has come in and continued to play well, and just kind of picked up where he left off last year. So that's the way it is. I think you look back on anybody's career, there's ups and downs. And for young guys, especially defensemen, it's a tough position to learn. And we're patient. We're, wanting them to do it the right way. And, we're not going to get there tonight, that's for sure. So it's a long process.
You're watching and listening to Scott Niedermayer, four-time Stanley Cup champion, Hall of Famer, and advisor to hockey ops for the Anaheim Ducks. Speaking of which, Scott, of the ups and downs, I got to ask you about Trevor Zegras. I think 5 years ago, he was almost like this can't-miss kid coming in, to the point where a lot of talk about him, either through individual efforts of a goal or being on the cover of a video game. And yet it's been a tremendous struggle. We know he's hurt and he's out now, but looking back on his struggles, what's holding him back? What has been his biggest obstacle from getting to the point where we're talking about others, young players, great in the game today?
Yeah, I guess sort of from my perspective, he came in, joined maybe a little bit of an older team, just went out there and played hockey, did what he's done his whole life with his talent and skill, and had some success with that. Obviously now we're maybe a little bit younger up front. He's not surrounded by the same players he was when he came in, and maybe asked to sort of add some things to his game to sort of play the, whatever you want to call it, full 200-foot game, sort of commit to that side of it with the eye on the long term here of being a successful hockey team, to try and, be in the playoffs and have success there. And I think that's been the focus the last couple of years in Anaheim. And, it can be a tough process. I remember playing for Jacques Lemaire. There were some stretches during my career where, I was struggling and trying to figure out mentally how to play the game with the way he wanted and help our team succeed. So it can be difficult. Trevor's relied probably on his offensive skill his whole life, and obviously it's taken him to the top level of hockey. So for him to kind of push through and battle some injuries along the process here, I think before this last injury, he really was showing a lot of signs of sort of ramping up his compete all over the ice in our own end, in those little battles for loose pucks and winning them with his skill set. So it's unfortunate that he ended up getting hurt again, and it was kind of definitely headed in the right direction.
Kip, did you want to say Ducks, or can I move to Team Canada? All right. I thought we got your thoughts. We got the Canadian jersey behind us. We're back to best on best competition. You yourself got to your 2-time gold medalist. What are your thoughts? What are your feelings on the Four Nations face-off and Canada returning to best on best?
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see. I mean, as a kid, it was always a highlight watching Canada Cups, watching the best players in the world play against each other and with, on the same team for Team Canada. So that was a highlight for me. And then to get the chance to actually do it, whether it was a World Junior or in the Olympics and World Cup, those tournaments, always a highlight. Again, to represent your country and then also play with, some other great players, getting to meet them and be teammates with them. So to see that back on the rails again as a hockey fan, great to see. I know the players probably love it as well. So excited about that. I know this is probably just a little teaser before we get back into the Olympics, but why not get started and have some fun with it?
Got to ask you what you see today out of the blue line. We look back in your heyday and you led it, Chris Pronger, that era compared to maybe what Cale Makar and others are doing today.
Well, I think in general, the game obviously has become more skilled all the way through the lineup. I think that's pretty obvious. Definitely maybe a little different as far as the toughness of the game and the way it's played. But these players are fun to watch. I think you look at the blue line that Canada put together, there still is some size there and some guys that are going to defend hard and make it difficult for other teams. I think that's always a success to winning, when you can kind of make that other team really earn their offensive chances. And the Canadians have some of those guys on the blue line for sure.
We had a chat yesterday. We were talking about Evan Bouchard, and we were talking about how defensemen who take offensive chances, they make really great plays, often have a moment or two where they turn the puck over and it doesn't look good. And I asked Kip if he thought, is it possible to be a big mistake D-man when you're young and get that out of your game over the course of your career? I guess you'd have the best perspective of all on that.
You're saying I made some big mistakes?
I'm not at all. I'm saying you would know more than me.
No, I did. You're right. You're right on. And I think that's sort of, when Jacques was in Anaheim there for a stretch, it was tough to figure that out. Like when do you take the chance? When do you look to push to create offense? And when do you sort of make a decision to decide, let's move this puck up and not take a chance right now, whether it's the timing of the game, the situation, who you're doing it against. Lots of stuff goes into it. I think it's a lot of trial and error and experience as a hockey player. So I think it is. I think you have to be held accountable. I know it wasn't all that comfortable for me at times going through that process, but I'm pretty sure it made me a better player all around for my team and allowed us to have more success when you do kind of figure that out.
I know it's an individual thing, but generally speaking, when you were young breaking in and you made that glaring mistake that none of us remember, but you may have, did it scare you? Did it make you worry? Are the kids less up to worry about it so much? And is that a good thing or maybe not a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I don't think I worried a ton about it until I had to play for Jacques Lemaire, and in New Jersey, we were going to play a certain style, and it was basically to give the other team nothing. And then I kind of recognized after, a few mistakes, I'd probably find myself sitting on the end of the bench for the rest of the period. And obviously that's where no player wants to be. And then the next time you get out there, obviously there is some thoughts in the back of your head. Well, how do I do this now? If I make this decision, I might be sitting on the bench again. So you really have to find your way through it. It's a difficult thing to sort through that. Young players, I think, are always going through an element of that or a degree of that in their game, trying to balance the two sides of the game and be effective for their team. So for sure. I mean, I think there is some thought of it, and obviously the culture, the coaches, the way your team plays is going to dictate sort of, the pressure that's put on you to play both ends of the rink.
My follow-up question would be, what would be your thought process if you missed a shift or was benched, but you never experienced that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I experienced it for a couple of years. I sat on the bench a lot, and the funny thing was, it was different a lot, right? Sometimes you're getting mad at the coach and not really maybe looking in the mirror and kind of trying to learn from it. And obviously the best way to approach it was to kind of look in the mirror and say, okay, yeah, that wasn't a smart thing. And next time I get out there, I won't try not to do that. So it was a process. It took a long time for me to kind of figure my game out of how to fit in with what Jacques wanted with us in New Jersey and how we had to play, and me as one of the members of that team as the decor. So, but it definitely, I'm thankful for it. It made me a better player. I think it made me help our teams more in whatever situation it was, whether it was in New Jersey, Anaheim, playing for Team Canada. I think I was a player that the coaches could trust sort of in any situation, and helped our team have more success.
Scott, is there anyone who's you in today's NHL? Is it Quinn Hughes? Who do you, is there someone you watch and say that was me?
Well, there's guys I wish I could be. Hughes and McCarr. I mean, there's so many. Heiskanen. I mean, these guys, they can skate, and the skill they're able to display, during the game now is amazing. It wasn't quite that way. It was you had to really fear for your wrists, your fingers, your hands if you wanted to carry the puck. 30 years ago, you were putting your health in jeopardy. But it's fun to watch these guys. They're the skill all the way, up and down, forwards, goalies, everybody is amazing. But obviously, as a defender, I really do enjoy watching those guys that are so good with the puck, can skate so well, and create offense. It's fun to watch.
One sec, Kip, before we go.
Sure.
We had Ken Danico on yesterday or the day before. He played 1,236 NHL games and scored 35 times. Well, tell us about playing with Ken Danico. Did you see similarities in your game, you and Ken?
Well, Kenny always used to say about how he scored points in junior. So, he learned the lesson quick when he got to the NHL that wasn't going to be his game. But he's one of those guys that made it tough to play. Great teammate. A big reason why we had success in New Jersey. He gave you everything he could every single night, and whatever it took to help our team win, he was willing to do it. Great teammate, really was a great person for me to kind of come in under as a veteran, really cared about me, whether it was on the ice, off the ice. And that makes you feel good when you're a young guy, for sure.
Hey, you can't bake a cake with the same ingredients.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Hey,
Absolutely.
Scott, really appreciate your time, man, for doing this. Keep enjoying the season. Keep doing the great work with the Ducks, and we'll join up again real soon, maybe around Four Nations time. We'd love to have you back.
Perfect. Nope. Sounds good, guys. Good talking to you. Take care.
Thanks for your time.
That is Scott Niedermayer, 4-time Stanley Cup champion and one of the best to ever play the game. It's great stuff. I call BS. Do you think he was benched ever?
It's funny. I'd be curious to know how long he was benched for. These guys miss a shift or two and they're great. And they're like, yeah. I doubt he sat there for a whole hockey game.
We did talk about one of their faces of the franchise, Trevor Zegras, who's not in the lineup tonight, will not be a part of the Toronto Maple Leaf game tonight. But there is an update on his knee injury he suffered last week, Sammy.
Yes, the Ducks announced today that Trevor Zegras has successful knee surgery to repair a torn meniscus. He's expected to miss about 6 weeks. I think Fried was saying that it was a little better news than they were expecting, so maybe a little shorter timeline than that they thought it was going to be. So they will not be seeing Zegras tonight. No Michigan attempts at Scotiabank Arena.
Well, his season's not over.
Yeah.
No, that's nice. Really struggling to find it. 24 games. He's got 10 points. He's -7, which is the worst in the team, playing under 17 minutes a night. Not that those are necessarily terrible numbers, but there were high expectations that he would be a producer.
Interesting to hear still Scott talk about him breaking in early, mentioning that it was an older guy's room, which obviously means that the young hotshot comes in, tries to do it his way. It may have worked for him in the past, as Scott said, but that to me was just the first step of what may slow down your progression. Is that there's still a pecking order. There's still hierarchy in a room. And if you don't necessarily acknowledge it, and I'm not saying that you got to just not be yourself but he rubbed people the wrong way. He kept trying to do things his own way. It didn't work. Pat Verbeek comes in, says, no, we're going to do it differently. And that's the progress that I think's been missing, as Scott had just mentioned.
I think there's this perception in certain sects of the hockey fan base or fans in general where they think that hockey people are no fun and don't want creativity or fancy play, and that like a guy like Zegras comes in and all of us want to stomp out the fun and energy and uniqueness from his game. But it's not that. It's that we've watched playoff hockey for so long.
Oh, yeah.
And a certain thing works. You know, it's not that type of hockey. And we had his skills coach, Adam Oates, come on and say, you know, it's funny, Valley got killed for the Jack Hughes Instagram hockey thing or whatever. But Oates had said that the year before on our show about Zegras. I think maybe even used that phrase now that I think about it.
It could have been.
That, you know, sometimes you have to chip it by a guy. Sometimes you have to get there and we don't want to take the fun out of his game and creativity and all that, but there you have to have success in the league. There's a style that works best.
Once the calendar flips to April, you got to beat it to a square and bounce it off somebody's leg.
Just to kind of bring this back to the Toronto Maple Leafs as we close out our segment here on our Leaf Edition hour. Is that what Berube's been trying to tell the likes of Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and Tavares, and all the rest of them?
I think that's a big part of this is that, you know, people are looking at some of the Leafs' success and going, well, they're getting great goaltending and penalty killing. That's why they're having success. And it's like, that's what they want to do. I know it's not great. You know, you need to create more than they have, but still they're trying to be different and they're different.
And, you know, every time Berube's talked about this, he's given the group credit for, you know, buying into the group. We listened to Shanahan talking to Kyle at the BOG about how impressed he is at the people buying in. And like, that's all you can ask for. And, you know, like you said, Kyper, that there's going to be an adjustment period to the system and that they may have some middling results throughout that.
Good point.
And there has been an adjustment period and they're still winning at times.
Sacrificing your offense a little bit. And, you know, Matthews has not been, we've not seen Matthews A game.
No.
But the games that he's played, the numbers don't suggest that, you know, he still has that kind of freedom, I think, to go score 60 or 70 goals.
Maybe Christopher Steed come on the show and say you can't do it. You know, like that's not, you know, individuals have to make these sacrifices for the greater good of the team sometimes. And I think, you know, you talked about the growing pains in the early going. The growing pains is, okay, we're doing this defensive thing. How do we now find offense within that? Niedermayer talked about, okay, I can't do X. How do I do this now? And that's the piece where it feels like the Leafs are at. How do we find this offensive piece within this defensive structure?
Hey, quickly, before we go,
we
were talking earlier about the Nylander hit. Our boy, the Serpent, Jake, found it. He found the hit.
Oh, no.
I think he did. If we could.
I got to tell you, the production value is way better this year on this show.
It's against
Here
St.
it
Louis.
is. Here it is.
Oh, baby.
Night.
Okay.
There you go.
We're on the panel tonight.
Yeah.
Anaheim, Toronto, 7:08 puck drop on Sportsnet. Now, that's all I'm watching now.
What?
His shift.
Willie hits.
Yeah.
By the way,
I
if
want to
you were
hit
just
tonight.
on audio there, he gently rubbed someone.
I have to see a hit. He's got to double his hits tonight.
he had 100% improvement on his total.
That was the most nothing hit of all time. It had zero impact on the play.
If you were tallying hits, would you have counted it?
Of course.
It's a hit.
That's a hit. That is definitely a hit. No question.
So, what went viral with Mark Gastineau giving it to Brett Favre
about taking the dive on
a tackle?
Yeah, because I mean the story was that
he was the leader.
Strahan had was going for the all-time record, and with 2 minutes left in the last game of the season, Brett Favre took a dive so that he could get the sack record, and the buddy confronted him about it.
Oh,
the guy
really?
that used to have the record, yeah. It's one of the most awkward videos of all time. You haven't seen that?
No.
It's been
And
floating
then
around
a
the
full
internet.
apology from Favre.
Yeah.
Was that the last one that Strahan got? Like that?
Yes. It was the 2 minutes of the last game of the season. Last 2 minutes, and he took a dive.
I think it was 22 to break the record.
Yeah, it was.
For the season.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't have the record, Mark Gastineau.
Yeah.
Think the league should go back and change it?
No.
Strahan had respect enough around the league yet. People laying down for him.
Yeah.
Our thanks to Scott Niedermayer in our Leaf Edition hour. Next hour, we go national. Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst, will join us. We'll tee up how many games? 14
Oh, my
tonight.
God.
The National Hockey League, don't go away. All right, let's take it national on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a couple of minutes, we'll welcome in Mike Rupp. I dare call him Rupper because we're not a nickname kind of show.
Rupsies.
Rupper's the most obvious one ever. Hey, before we go any further, I wanted to wait for the national audience for this. It is Justin Bourne's birthday today.
Hey!
Happy birthday, Mr. Justin Bourne.
Thanks.
I believe the Serpent has put up the birthday boy.
And I'm dressed like I'm at like a bar mitzvah or something.
So, an extremely happy birthday to you. I love you, buddy.
I didn't know, so I have an excuse for not getting you anything.
Yeah, I mean, you guys both forgot
you
mine.
knew it, and
Yeah.
you still brought him nothing.
He brought me a font under my name.
I didn't-
Also, I think it's Luke Fox's birthday.
Really?
We share a birthday.
Wow. There you go.
Happy birthday to Luke Fox, if that's true.
Is there anyone well known that shares your birthday?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah,
Not in
and
Dan Murphy's family.
both Luke Fox and Justin Bourne get to celebrate their birthday by watching the Anaheim Ducks.
Oh, this is what
Let's
I've always dreamed of.
go. Let's go.
14 games on tap.
Oh, sorry, Kip, I want to interrupt you one second.
Go ahead.
It was 16 years ago on my birthday that I took the slap shot to the face. It was the last pro hockey game I ever played.
Do we have
On
that,
your birthday?
Do we have that picture? You sent those pictures?
Yeah.
I'm like, why are you sending me a picture of a stranger?
I know.
And it's you.
My face is
I
like
didn't
a
even
Tom Wilson out to here.
Didn't even recognize it.
Freaky, hey? I lost 30 pounds with my jaw wired shut for 2 months. On to the show.
So how fast did you play?
What's that?
Like how quickly did you come by
I
with
never did.
a fishbowl? No,
I
nothing.
never came back.
It was over.
It was over. The end of that year, it was like March or something. And I could have come back playing on a bad ECHL team. I was like, what am I doing? I'm going to become a writer. I started a blog. I was ready for the hockey news before I was. The season
You
was
got to give
over.
Wilson some credit here, don't you?
Oh my
I
God! He's playing with a fractured sinus cavity or something.
I think that is one of the true great Canadian sports moments of all time. Him doing that interview with Sean McKenzie
Yeah.
and just like got the like I commented on Sportsnet. I'm like, LeBron would be in the hospital. And it's like you got
I would like to clarify the difference between Tom Wilson and I. My jaw broke clean down the middle into two separate pieces
that's so gross.
and shattered over here. So I got screws here. I got an X plate that keeps together in my jaw.
Gross.
I wouldn't have been
Gross.
doing interviews.
You know the first thing I thought of when I watched him being interviewed with that face?
Why'd they ask him?
No,
Oh.
just that's Tom Wilson looking in the camera going, hey, Team Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, you couldn't use some of this toughness?
He went and scored twice after it, yeah.
He's a
I don't
weapon.
know that he's not going to end up there yet.
He's a weapon.
He is.
Wow. I mean, still got a lot of hockey to play between now and then.
Yeah,
So, somebody's going to go down,
for sure.
right?
And is he next up? Could be.
Okay, let's welcome him in. Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst, former NHLer, Stanley Cup champion. Rupper, how are you?
I'm good. My head was very zoomed in right there. Got a big head on your program right now. What's going on, boys?
We're good. We're good. Last night was an interesting game in Buffalo against the Rangers and the Sabres, two teams that a lot of people are kind of questioning right now. Where is Buffalo right now? We'll start with the Sabres for you. Where are they in terms of digging themselves out to the point where everybody wants to talk between Buffalo, Ottawa, Anaheim tonight versus the Leafs? They want to play meaningful games in March. Is that still possible for the Buffalo Sabres?
I mean, it's possible. The Buffalo Sabres, Detroit Red Wings, Ottawa Senators. I mean, we've said this for 3 years now, right? Like, which team's going to turn the corner first? Which one? And they all three of them kind of stumble on their own feet or over their own feet. First period of last night's game was really bad. Like that was Lindy Ruff said so in his after that first period. I mean, that was for a team that needs to be desperate. That was a terrible effort by Buffalo in that first period. Now they got going a little bit as the game got on, made it interesting. But I also think that's part due to the Rangers in some regard. I find that the Eastern Conference in particular is really interesting because there's a grouping of teams. I think they're going to be the bubble teams that a lot of years we sit there and we say, well, this team's a bubble team, that team's a bubble team. Who's going to be playing at the right time of year to earn their way in? To me, it kind of feels like maybe in what we've seen in the East the last couple seasons, teams kind of backing their way into the playoffs and getting those last wild card spot in the East has kind of been, oops, we made it. Congratulations. And that's kind of what it feels like right now. I mean, just I know there's still a lot of season left ahead, but just the inconsistencies, it doesn't scream to me that they're a playoff team.
Okay, so for the Rangers, then, do you think that now it's just a matter of they got some good players and they're going to play their way through what's going on there, or is there still more player movement, coach movement, manager? Is there still more movement to come on the actual personnel front?
I think there's probably still movement. They're a team that we know they don't defend very well. And they're a team that they're super talented. We know that. I mean, there's no mistake that it wasn't a mistake that they won the President's Trophy. But with that being said, they have been a team over the last few years that when they are uncomfortable, they don't really have much other things to fall back on in their game. And so I think I would categorize what they're going through this year, not just when it's hard on them, when things kind of fall apart, they're looking for something to cling to or somebody to lead them out of this. I just don't know if that's the right mix it's a great mix when they're comfortable. When they're uncomfortable, it has been proven that team is not the right mix. So I don't know if it's adding a new player in there. I don't know if one player does it. It's got to be a different shift in the mindset. This is a team that gets sleepy and they need to get unsleepy real quick.
As far as the club's chasing right now, are they the ones that you think that could be on the outside looking in? If I'm Ottawa right now in a wild card, is it Tampa? Is it the Bruins after getting shellacked once again against the Winnipeg Jets? What team's most vulnerable right now?
Yeah, I don't know if you're mentioning the Rangers in there. I don't consider that. I think they figured out and they get in the playoffs pretty comfortably.
Okay.
I think they're too good. So I don't know if I would. I don't even know if you're insinuating them being part of that grouping. But not them. Boston. I mean, man, it's. I'm gonna say the same thing I've said the last 2 seasons. Is I think Ottawa has the mix of some discrepancy up and down their lineup and different players. They've got skill. They've got a little bit of this, a little bit of that. They should be able to be that team. I think this should be the season that the Ottawa Senators, maybe displace a team like the Boston Bruins. And it's available for them. But they're still kind of battling the same things that we talked about with the Buffalo Sabres, just that consistency. And there's nights that the Ottawa Senators, man, they look like world beaters. Like they look like a team that some nights where I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to play them in the playoffs. Maybe just a naive group that just goes out there and plays hard. But then there's other nights where I'm like, oh, give me them in the playoffs. So I don't really know what they are right now. But if there is ever a year, and we've said about it for numerous seasons in a row, the same teams in the Atlantic have been the same teams in the Atlantic for a while now. This is the year. If someone's going to do it, it's this year. I'd probably lean into Ottawa if they can get some more consistency in their game.
So we watched a game here recently where Toronto played Sheldon Keefe's New Jersey Devils, and they kind of looked a lot like the Toronto Maple Leafs used to look like, which is very good, very fast. They lost a game maybe they should have won. But one thing happened that stood out to us. We talked about Jack Hughes got crushed by Pacioretty, and nothing happened. Nyes ran Kovacevic from behind, and nothing happened. We've had you weigh in on this sort of stuff before. How important is it that there be a response from a team in December when these sort of things are happening to your best players?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like, guys, I don't want to say that because there has been times where this team has responded. And they have in New Jersey, they have that pushback, and they've shown it. But it can't be here and there. It's got to be every single time, right? Like it's got to be a knee-jerk reaction. I would almost rather my teams overreact in those situations. And I think there's still sometimes where I played on teams where maybe you add a guy or you add 2 guys or you address it, and there's still the looking around like, oh, is someone going to do something here? No. If you see it, you react. And I think that's where teams kind of those gaps are filled. I thought it was an awesome hit by Pacioretty. I love that part of his game that he's been bringing for the Leafs. But from the Devils standpoint, yeah, you want it to be a knee-jerk. I don't care if it's Jesper Bratt. I don't care if it's the smallest guy on the team. Just stand in there for one another. And that seems like it slipped a little bit in that game. but this isn't the same team as last year. I think they're still trying to figure it out, but I think you can't look around and be like, all right, where's Curtis McDermott? Where's Paul Cotter? Like, no. This is on everybody. Those guys are there to help in those situations, and to maybe be the lightning rod in some other situations. But it's got to be everybody.
You mentioned Curtis McDermott, which basically was a guy that they targeted once they saw Mike Rempe run around and destroy other players. And he couldn't get in the lineup with Ryan Reeves in it. And then you watch Jack Hughes go down. And I get it. You're not going to play every day. But at the same time, if you're going to make a commitment to a guy like that and not even paying the minimum, I believe he's making close to $1.5 million. What's the deal here? Like, you gotta have him have a bigger presence than the one he has now, don't you?
You know, it's funny that when I think back to playing, and at the end of my career, I certainly was fighting more or less. That was what I was there to do. But for most of my career, I was a depth player that kind of picked up those things later on. But the reason why I'm saying this is there was nights and there's games in Pittsburgh where I had Eric Goddard as a line mate, as a teammate. When Godsey was in the lineup, he was there for a purpose, and he was awesome at his role. We loved him as a teammate. I got a little bit bigger too, and all of us did. But when Eric Goddard was out of the lineup, when he was a scratch, I think this is really important. I don't know how some veteran players probably taught me that. That's just how it was. It's just kind of it is what it is. He wasn't in the lineup, so someone's got to fill those shoes in that role for that night. And there was games where Eric Goddard was not in the lineup. We play against teams where I'm like, I don't really want to be this tonight, but that's what it is. And that's the job I have. So, I understand what you're saying there. I just don't know if Curtis McDermott was ever going to be that guy that's in all the time, right? Like we know originally he's a defenseman. He's turned to forward. He could be effective in some ways, but this is a team that they've got to have a plan B. And I think that falls on these players, just changing their mindset a little bit depending on the personnel in the lineup.
Rupper, looking around the NHL, I'm struck by the JT Miller situation in Vancouver, where he's come back. He's been away for a month. In my own experience, it's crazy when you're on a team realizing how much people are going through and how much it affects the on-ice product. During your playing days, I'm sure this sort of thing happened. How does the rest of the team handle it when you know someone is having, and I'm not speaking to specifically what Miller has, but is going through something, and you want to pick up a teammate when the fans can't really understand what's going on?
Yeah, I think that, man, you could even use it just from injury standpoint. Like, I think it's really important to make people feel on a team welcomed, back, and welcomed is probably the wrong word. Excited to have them back.
Yeah. And
I just saw an interview with McCabe talking about Matt Sundin and what a great leader he was, and just talking about how he would genuinely go around and kind of say to guys, like, basically make them all feel important no matter what their role is on a team. I think that's really important for a close-knit group. And when you get a guy like that back, don't just think that that guy knows how important he is. Like, you let him know he's missed. Hey, our boy's back, and that's where we're getting all the fun stuff. You talk a little smack in the locker room, and put some money on the board. You do all those different things, because I think I've seen players so many times, and again, just to stick with maybe even more just the injury side of it, it's a lost spot when you're out of the lineup. You're not traveling with the team, or you're stepped away for a while. You feel like you're forgotten about. You feel like you fit in right away. So I think it's huge to get guys back, and just to all of us just kind of starve for that camaraderie, right? Make fun of me a little bit, I'll make fun of you, and have a good time. And that's, I think, the best way to kind of get everything and everybody back on the same page.
You're comfortable for the Vancouver Canucks moving forward, like you are the Rangers, not a real threat from some teams in the West to steal a playoff spot? Right now they're in with Colorado, but Calgary, St. Louis, Seattle, can they keep pushing them?
Yeah, I feel pretty confident in Vancouver. and maybe some of that is due to my lack of confidence maybe with some of the other teams, like you mentioned. I still think, I mean, for me, I think Colorado is going, for me, I think Colorado is going to be a wild card team. And I know that many people probably don't think that. I think they have bigger problems than their goaltending. And they addressed the goaltending. It certainly was an upgrade. But I think they're going to be in the mix. But I don't think they're going to be outside looking in the playoffs. So to me, there's like one spot available when you're looking in the West. So I think it's going to come down for a team like Vancouver. What are the LA Kings going to look like all season long? I just don't know if there's enough there for Calgary for me to believe in. There's not for Seattle. I mean, I thought that Utah would be a team that would maybe take a big step, but I don't necessarily see that. St. Louis is another one I don't really believe in. So I think it's there for Vancouver. They got a lot of talent. We know this. I think they're a well-coached team. It's about getting their groove, and maybe this is good. Also, last year they started off so hot and they went on such a tear. They weren't really playing that great a brand of hockey, I thought, as the season went on. And it seems to be a little different now. You get to deal with some injuries, deal with some guys out of lineup. I think it'll make them stronger down the stretch.
Just real curious on where you think maybe the weakness then lies. If you're not pointing it in Colorado in net, is it the blue line? Is it the fact that they haven't replaced Landeskog?
I just don't. I watch their games, and I don't think they have details in their game. I think they severely lack defensive details. They are a team that has 3 players that you could argue for all 3 cases are Hart Trophy candidates. Now, that's great as long as you get that from them every single game. And every single game, if you're going to go try to win a cup, 16 wins in the playoffs. That's a lot to ask from those guys. I'm not saying I don't believe in the build of their team. I know they were severely banged up early on in the season. But I also sit there, I don't think they have a defensive conscience. I don't. And I think they're a different team than they were when they won their cup. When they won the cup, I almost think of it as a standpoint. If you think back to the Penguins of 16, 17, remember the Penguins were that team that played fast, quick, straight lines. They didn't play physical. Mike Sullivan was like, our power play is going to be the deterrent. All those different things that I probably didn't believe in at the time, but it got it done for them in those 2 years. They were ahead of the curve a little bit. I think the Avs, when they won the cup, what was that? That was 21, 22? 22?
I think so.
So they played a style. The other team simply didn't have the puck. Like they were so dominant in the possession game. I don't think they can win a tight checked series. I don't think the details are there. And I think this is all masked because they had a goaltender that was really, really struggling, and everybody wanted to pin it on that. And it was that, but it was also a lot more. So we'll see if they address those things. But, Kyper, I don't think they have details in their game.
I got to tell you, it's very impressive when you talk to someone who can go around the league team to team like this. So we're going to continue to test your knowledge around the league. You're in the New York area there. I follow the New York Islanders. Frustrating year if you're rooting for the Isles to have success. The building partially empty, the team partially uninspiring. What do you make of where they're at and what's got to happen?
Man, I have no idea. This has been a weird. I want to be very. I'll speak freely, but here's the thing. Lou Lamoriello love the man, what he did for me in my career. Yeah. He is one of the most loyal guys in hockey. Okay. I think he was too loyal to this group. Mm-hmm. I think the worst thing that happened to this group is that they made it to back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals. In the years that they did it, and I hate when people say that was the COVID Cup for Tampa. That doesn't count. There's an asterisk. I don't believe in any of that crap.
Sammy, you can close your ears.
Yes.
But that year for a team like them, I think they thought they were much further along than they were. And so a lot of these guys, and this is the tough part, a lot of their players, I love their players. Individually speaking, if you can pluck this guy out of New York Islanders and put him here, there, and everywhere, I love them. But I don't love them all together.
Gotcha.
And all together in the way they just play a style that I just don't know if it can win in the National Hockey League right now. And it's been hard to really get a good gauge on them too, because you have Matt Barzal, who's missed time, Anthony Duclair. Those are your two game breakers that have been unavailable. Mm-hmm. But I mean, are those guys really going to move the needle that much as far as the way your team is and the way they play? I don't know, Bourne. I don't know. They kind of backed in. They backed in last year. And it didn't. The last 2 years, they kind of backed in. Did they not? Or am I messing up?
No. You're on point.
Because I'm sitting here in Pittsburgh right now, getting ready to do the pre and post of the Pens Canadiens, and I remember, if it wasn't for the Pittsburgh Penguins self-destructing, New York Islanders never would have gotten the playoffs.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a tough spot. I don't know where the answer lies. I feel very confident to say this is not a team that can make a threat in the playoffs.
Yeah. They've got Chicago in tonight.
Oh.
So, I mean,
I like their odds.
They don't win tonight.
But they are getting Barzal back. Pelech, I think, is coming back. They're starting to get healthy anyway.
Just one more note, like they're only a point or two out of a wild card spot, right? So Lou, you're gonna have to kill him before he gives up on the season.
Oh, 100%. There's no give up on it,
right?
And
or trade those assets that you're talking about away.
Yeah, and I think that's the tough part, is because you're there, but you're not. For this franchise, has been they're close enough, but we all kind of feel like they're not. And so I don't know what they do if he pulls what he pulls out of his sleeve this year, but they need something. I don't know if there's one thing. I listen to Patrick Waugh, his post games and his press conferences. I love his demeanor in believing in this group too. If I'm in that room, I want to go through well. I know some guys who have been in that room over the last number of years, and they tell me it is a special group. Mm-hmm. It's tough.
It is.
And they've never really parted from, and I get it, but it's not working. So I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. Patrick Waugh had the comment, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I said, this is the team Lou gave me. And it's like, that's...
That was an interesting choice of words. But
yeah. It might have been very specific and on purpose.
Yes, exactly.
Speaking of words of interest, Kevin Adams, just to go back to Buffalo on this, I want to get your thoughts, because he was pretty candid on the challenges that the Buffalo Sabres have, and he had a bit of a list of, we don't have palm trees, we got high taxes, not exactly a destination. Rupper, are you okay with that? Do you like the honesty and being transparent on his challenges? Or in that instance, would you have liked to have said, okay, Kevin, why state the obvious and maybe make our players feel like, it's not a great place to attract other good hockey players right now?
Yeah, when I first heard it, my knee jerk was, ooh, I don't know if that was the right thing to say. Because then what are you trying to sell? Because you're not winning, they haven't been to the playoffs. So in a place like that, like, you could sell me in Winnipeg right now, because that franchise is pretty good and they got a chance to compete and win. So you can't really sell me Buffalo on what the product is on the ice or the direction of the organization. So it just kind of feels like that was some self-inflicted kind of dirt being kicked in their own face. But then I started thinking about it more, and I'm like, I mean, he's telling us, like you said, what everybody knows. I respect the honesty, but I don't know why it would be. Why would you throw it out there? I just feel like what they're going through, that doesn't help them. And I don't know if that was meant to almost give an excuse. It kind of feels like an excuse. And you don't want excuses around, or anything to be perceived as an excuse, because then it starts becoming contagious. And I think that's a problem for a lot of teams that kind of turn the corner. So I don't know. I feel like I appreciate the honesty, but I think at the state of the team right now and where they're at, it to me felt like more of an excuse than anything.
Well, it won't get any easier for them. I think they got Washington on the weekend, so we'll keep an eye on that story. Hey, Rupper, great stuff as always, man, going around the circuit with you. Thanks for doing this.
Anytime, guys.
Thanks,
Enjoy.
Rupper. Appreciate it.
Mike Rupp, NHL Network analyst, former National Hockey Leaguer, and, of course, Stanley Cup champion.
Glad we got him back.
Oh yeah,
He's been trying.
Wonderful.
He's busy guy. This guy's on TV every day. He's
Very
like
popular analyst.
doing the Pittsburgh games as well. So busy guy, but happy to have him back on.
Great hockey player too.
Yeah.
All right, we want a little game time, or we're
Well,
good? What do you want to get into?
I love to talk about the Avalanche.
Yeah, that was interesting. I also want to
So,
talk more about the
he
Islanders.
didn't
You guys
say
are
it.
into it.
He didn't say it, and I didn't follow up with him. But man, that's a direct finger point at the head coach
For sure.
In Colorado.
for sure.
Just they don't pay attention to details. Doesn't think they're.
Yeah, that's what I guess he was implying.
I think there are coaches who, when they have elite talent, are really good at understanding when to get out of the way. I had this talk with Luke Gazdick last night. Like Al Arbor for my dad's Islanders teams, one of the things they gave him credit for was knowing when to push, when to lay off. But when you had the great talent, you just sort of like get out of the way and let them go. Some coaches, like maybe this is Bednar, can handle elite talent, like when it's Landeskog, Nichushkin going, McKinnon, Makar. But like when it wasn't those guys, when they're missing a couple of them and you're relying on a couple guys and you need everyone else to tighten it up, maybe that's an area where he's not as strong.
Yeah, like he's had success. I mean, the man's a Stanley Cup champion.
Isn't
For
Bednar?
sure.
Isn't
With a loaded
Bednar?
team.
Isn't he like one of the longest tenured? I feel like maybe behind
I
Cooper
think
or
it'd be Cooper
Sullivan.
than him. Oh, yeah,
Sullivan,
Cooper,
too.
him.
But like he's been there for a long time, and messages always happens eventually. But like I like him. Anytime I hear him talk, it feels like he's a.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know how to judge a coach, and I'm not watching every single game. I'm not listening to it all the time. But anytime I hear him talk, he seems like he's well put together guy. But at some point, but maybe the new goalies will help. The Woods,
I mentioned it briefly.
Woodsies.
The Woodsies.
I mentioned it briefly, but like I don't know if people really appreciated what Landeskog meant to that team. I mean, he was
Conscience.
as important as Nate and Rantanen. I mean, those three guys, man, oh man,
Last thing he did.
they were the heart and soul of the Stanley Cup championship team.
I mean, you gotta
And
be-
unfortunately,
Not sure how you replace that.
No.
He was a unique animal, Landeskog, in that he was motivated and driven and pushed people. He played defense. He was physical. He could finish. Like there's
Yeah.
not many guys
No.
on
no,
in
he
the
was
league. built like him.
five tool guy.
Yeah, he
he's the
was
captain.
unique.
He
He was
just
a true
and
captain.
he's just gone,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a tough one. All right, game time.
Game time.
It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. That's for 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Lots of games on tap, like Kip was bringing up. This is just a fun one to talk about. The one that you guys are covering tonight on the Sportsnet Regional. The Toronto Maple Leafs are minus 450 favorites on home ice against the Anaheim Ducks.
So that means you can bet $10 and win
450,
Yeah,
yeah.
something
Yeah, so if you want to bet $10 and win 35, you could bet on the Anaheim Ducks. They're plus 350 on the other side of the money line.
I did make a bet today on
Mm-hmm.
Bet365. I parlayed the Leafs in regulation with Matthews and Nylander both getting 3 shots, which they certainly should.
Okay, I like
You know,
that.
you just try to juice up the odds a little bit.
Yep.
So there's some ways to try to get some value out of it.
And later on, game we're going to talk about a little bit after the break with JT Miller coming back. Good one. The defending Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers are in Vancouver to take on the Canucks. Heavy favorites for the Florida Panthers tonight. Minus 180 on the money line. The Canucks are plus 150. Getting JT Miller back. I haven't seen anywhere, but I'm assuming that maybe they're going to go Demko again tonight. I don't know if you've seen anywhere.
I'm sure Taka would tell us Petey's been awesome lately. And he's produced a bunch.
Just don't ask him about Petey. Give me the Vancouver Canucks in an upset tonight, plus 150. And if you want to do that, you could parlay it with a comeback goal for JT Miller. But give me the Vancouver Canucks on the money line tonight against the Florida Panthers. And that was game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. It's 19 plus, Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
We never played Taka yesterday, did we?
We didn't.
No. And do we have maybe after the break? we
Yeah,
can
yeah.
find it?
I got it.
We'll
for sure.
find it.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, as Sammy has alluded to, JT Miller back in. They'll get a big boost. He spoke to the media.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if it left enough people satisfied or not, but we'll get into it when we return after the break. You're watching and listening to Real Kyper and Bourne. All right, let's bring it home on the Real Kyper and Bourne show. A reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Why are you smiling right now?
Okay, so I'm going to ask Bourne's permission on this before, because we were talking about how your face got smashed.
Yeah.
I have the picture. I sent it to the Serpent. Would you like to show our TV audience your face?
Yeah,
All right, we could pop up this. There you go.
Oh, by the way, can
my-
you see the redness
Yes.
there? That's an actual infection, is what that is. That
Oh
looks
my
good, eh? Yeah,
God.
that was fun.
You're storing nuts. That's not your real face.
Got the mumps like Sid.
That's rough, man.
Yeah.
And it was a stick or a puck.
Slap shot.
Slap shot.
Slap shot.
You know what's fun is so when you're wired shut, you actually have to carry wire cutters because you're wired together. And if you get sick, you'll choke and die. So you have to carry these things around in case you have to wire cut.
Oh
your
my
mouth open.
God.
Oh,
Really?
it's a nightmare.
The birthday boy.
It's the birthday boy.
The birthday
It happened
face.
16,
my-
16 years
Wow.
ago. Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway,
Anyways, there you go.
All right, as we mentioned before the break, JT Miller will play tonight against the Florida Panthers. It's been a while. He met the media, and we have the sound of it. Do we not, Sammy?
We might even have the video. Yeah, I think we
value through the roof.
could roll that there, Jake.
Okay, let's have a listen. JT Miller back.
Real quick, I just want to say something. I am playing tonight, and I really would appreciate if we just stayed away from the reasons why I wasn't here from all of you guys. You can ask all you want, but I'm not going to dive into the reasons why I wasn't here the last 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm here with the team, and I am ready to look forward to what's going to happen in the future, not necessarily what has happened in the past. So I know you guys are going to ask them. Say I'm not talking about it, but I just want to let you guys know ahead of time.
How are you doing now?
Yeah, I'm excited to play. I want to play, and you know, obviously, fun game to play against the defending champions. So just happy to be around the guys and looking forward to tonight.
What have you seen out of this team since?
Didn't seem
Okay,
like the
so-
answer to that was good.
I'll let you go first.
I guess, you know, the first off, I thought it was a very good follow-up question. And a fair statement from Miller, very good follow-up question. But the answer to the question was not great, Bob. You know, he doesn't seem to be doing awesome. So I am concerned for him. I think it's hard to launch yourself back into the high-stress environment of NHL hockey now.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Like, I don't know. I don't watch a ton of JT Miller media availabilities. I know he's had had the reputation of being kind of fiery, not dismissive, but like not condescending,
Combative
but
a
like
bit.
combative a little bit. That's the word I'm looking for. I don't know if that's combativeness that he's saying. I don't know what that is, but it just didn't feel
No,
great.
I don't believe he prepared enough for that statement. Or no, the statement's fine because he's not the first athlete. He will not be the last athlete to ask for privacy.
Mhm.
That's totally okay with me. That was perfect. He can ask that. I'm not going to get into it. He can do all of that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But if I'm not mistaken, the follow-up question wasn't, why have you been away? It was, how are you feeling?
Yeah.
How you doing
Right?
now?
Yeah.
That one you dodged. That one you hesitated on as if it's. Now, I'm insinuating because either the body language or the lack of an answer tends me to think you're not okay, but you're coming back anyways. And I'm not sure that you want to leave that feeling or message to either the media or the fan base. It's as if I was out for 3 weeks,
Yeah.
4 weeks. And
17th to the 12th.
and the reason why I was there is because, you know, I was seeking help, right?
We don't know.
No, we
Well,
do.
but they
We
did
know.
say that.
We
They
do
did?
know.
Oh, yeah, right,
we
right, right.
do know
Yeah.
he was seeking help.
Yeah.
Okay. And the impression that he gave us there was that I don't know. I may have not gotten the help, but I'm coming back anyways. And I don't think that's necessarily a good thing for him or the club moving forward. And I'm not suggesting that he should have lied, but maybe he could have just said that I'm good enough. I'm excited. I feel good enough to come
Well,
back.
it's
Something
He
that
did
would
say he was
just,
excited to play after.
but it wasn't the feeling. The question was, how are you feeling?
Mhm.
And he should have said, I felt better, or I feel good enough, or something that suggests that the time off did me well, or well enough to come back. He didn't even give us that.
No, I think it's a really hard spot. Like, let's say something bad has happened that has affected you a great deal. You know, he wasn't ready in the immediate aftermath of that event to play hockey, but you can't not play forever. Just because you're ready to come back and play hockey doesn't mean you're okay with whatever that event was. So when someone says, how you doing now, referring to that event or that time away, I think it's tough to be like, good, I'm over it.
But he's not over it.
No.
He gave us the impression
But
that
that doesn't
he's
mean he can't
not
come back
over
and
it.
play hockey.
No, it doesn't mean that. But what it also means is that all the BS and the speculation is going to come creeping in. You're playing well. The team's winning. You get left alone. You start struggling. The team starts struggling. And all of that comes back into your face.
Mm-hmm.
All of it. It'll come back. You'll have to dodge more questions. It'll be, are you still battling what you battled before? It's like, don't tell us what's the problem, but tell us, are you still having issues with whatever kept you out for a month ago? Are they
And
back
for
in the
record,
room?
Fair questions.
Are they back in the room?
I will say, I get the sense from a lot of, from Canucks fans and, engage with Canucks fans or whatever. And, you see like Murph was talking about at the WWE event about like them chanting his name. And
Yeah.
I do feel that for a fan base, and if you're listening, Vancouver, plug your ears, it can be a little toxic from time to time. And I think they're fully aware of that they have been pretty supportive of his privacy and of how he's been battling with this. I don't think anyone's like, oh, he's got to be back. I don't get that sense.
Agreed.
But I do agree with Kyper in the fact that it was like
Even better. I would have liked better. I feel good enough. I feel better. I want to do this. I'm excited. I think, and not pause
What
on
if
the
he
question.
said, I'm not over what has happened, but I'm ready to play hockey?
Yeah,
or something?
then that's a problem.
Okay.
It's a problem.
So
Okay,
he can't play hockey till he's over whatever his personal life issues are?
I believe that the Vancouver Canucks and the league have a responsibility to put people in positions to succeed and be at their best. If there are issues, then Vancouver should step in and say, listen, you want to play, you're excited, but you may still have issues. I think it puts you in danger or it puts the team in a vulnerable position. No, go get better. Come back, look at us, look at the media and say, I'm better. You hurt your knee, you're out 4 to 6 weeks. The guy comes back, I feel great again. Yeah, I'm ready to go. It's 100%, it's 98%. I'm healthy, I'm ready to go. I'm not saying that he needed to announce that it's completely clear, but to give us the suggestion that maybe 3 weeks or a month off did nothing to help you, and you're still in a position of where a week later you disappear again.
What's tough though is like these guys, and you know this. I mean, they're not politicians, they're not actors, they're not even media members. They're hockey players, and so his job is to play hockey. What is the obligation to come out there in front of the mic and say the right things? He's ready to play, in his opinion. He's ready to go do the thing that he's paid to do. I mean, if I got issues at home with my wife or if I got issues with my next door neighbor or whatever, you're going to expect me to come in here, kid. Even if I'm not quite feeling great, like I got to come in.
No.
It's my job.
No, not today, buddy. Not today. You can come in and you can tell everybody I'm not in a good place and people respect it now. That's the new world. That's the new world.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you do have
I'm
problems,
old school. I'm
sometimes it
58
doesn't
years
feel-
old. I'll be the guy that says, get your ass in here and suck it up.
But
Back in
some of
our
these cases,
day.
it doesn't help to just sit around and feel bad. Sometimes you just got to get back at it. Maybe this will help him get to a better place.
I just think if he just could have come out and just painted a little bit
I agree, it
more
didn't sound
of a didn't sound
positive.
it just left him a little vulnerable. That's all.
Yeah.
That if he doesn't play well, people are going to question it and they're going to wonder, are you going to disappear on us again?
I think.
Do you guys think there's any chance that he just had like an FU match with his coach and they yelled at each other and they said, go out, get out of here for a month?
I honestly feel like that. I mean, he played the last game he played was in November. He played 11 minutes. He got benched. I don't know.
Yeah, benched his last game. So
I
that's why I thought.
can't imagine an FU with Rick Tocchet
Leading to a month off.
would lead anybody. Like, it's one of those where even if you fought, like Rick Tocchet.
Physically?
Yes. Rick Tockett's that guy that he fight anybody and still have a beer with him in a bar as long as, no one got sucker punched.
Yeah.
That's the type. Rick would never hold anything like that over somebody's head over
particularly a competitive,
disagreement,
emotional guy like
a disagreement.
Miller, which he likes that he's like that.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. So no, it's
Anyways,
to me, it's
throwing things to the wall. But just a problem when you don't know, we throw things to the wall.
there's a million things it could be, and we're not guessing any of them. But that one would shock me. That
All right.
that
As
it's
not
just
a
between. It's a personal thing between Rick Tocchet and him.
The interesting. I mean, that's a really interesting game to watch now. To have him back, to see how he plays, be interesting.
They need him.
Do you want to talk? I mean, we could just do this all Canucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, Kyper, you sent. I saw. I mean, to the Canucks fans that I follow again.
Yeah.
You sent them into a bit of a tizzy with the trade board yesterday and the number that they were looking at there. What was the number
Why
you
would
said?
they be tizzy? $8 million.
Well, not a
for
tizzy,
accessories, a
but
40
people.
goal guy.
When I say tizzy, people were talking about it.
Well, and he's one of
good
those
article.
guys where he had 40 goals, and that's a nice number for a 27-year-old.
You scored 40 goals, you get $8 million.
A+.
Yeah. Like that's like the floor.
But there's a lot of people out west that think that would be a mistake.
And that's fine. They may be right.
Yeah.
But you've earned bigger numbers at 40 goals
So-
at 27 years old.
Where do we have Vancouver as one of 8 teams that could win a Stanley Cup, or a good team on the outside and not in a handful of teams that can win the Stanley Cup? Because it's a big difference between renting your own player and then possibly losing him for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's really the focus on why I find some of these names so intriguing on my list that you can find on sportsnet.ca is that I think more teams will explore finding assets for some of these big names now. And I'm not suggesting that any of them are going to get traded, but those are the conversations that are going, and assure you.
The guys on your trade board you're not suggesting could get traded?
I do.
Intriguing board. Not trade board.
Okay.
But when you ask that question with the Canucks,
By the way, Lankin and starting tonight. I've been waiting to get that in.
damn. I do believe, like you look at the Western Conference, it does feel very wide open. Like you look at the best teams in it. It's like the Minnesota Wild. Are they they're very good? Are they going to win the cup? Do you put them in the Champions League? Like the Winnipeg Jets, are they going to win the
First off,
cup?
Love the Champions League talk. Our
Yeah.
NHL Champions League.
Yeah.
We should actually see what we've got for this year.
But I just
Are the Canucks in the Champions League this year?
like I really do think if they're healthy and Demko's back and they have everybody going, Hronek back, like
Healthy Canucks.
they make a trade, they're in there.
they're one of the
100% they're in there. We all thought that preseason. I still think it.
Look at the West. Who's good in the West?
If I could sign Brock Besser right now to 64 times 8, I think I would do it.
8 to
Yeah, 8 times 8.
Yeah,
64
yeah.
million total for 8 years.
I think so too. Cap's going up. Scoring's hard. He shoots it in the net.
How do you replace him?
Yeah.
he's really good.
Yeah.
How do you replace? And 27. I mean, he's going to turn 28, but it's a nice age to commit.
I don't think of
that.
him for sure. I don't think of him as a guy who drives the play or, can take over a game, but he is a guy who can put it away. And
Puck lands on his stick in the sweet spot.
he
It's
knows
going in
where
the
to
net.
be. He knows
Yeah.
how to finish. And there is, Sam Reinhart. I don't think of him as an elite driver either, but he shoots it in the net when he gets his chances, and those
Yeah.
guys have a ton of value.
Yeah, absolutely.
How about Reinhardt's contract? $8.6
a joke.
million?
It's a joke.
57 goals last year?
Thanks, Gary.
Jeez.
Yeah, he doesn't have to pay tax. So he's getting the whatever.
That contract's wild. Like if the Leafs bring that up to Marner, everyone goes, "Well, throw that out. That's just not a relevant contract here. That's not."
But Marner could go somewhere and take less and still make more money
Yeah,
than
yeah.
he'd
Yeah.
ever make in
Yeah.
Toronto. The taxes are high.
Yeah.
Cost of living.
And that's not a competitive advantage for the Southern teams at all.
Oh.
Better weather, no
No.
tax. Why would that be a competitive
Kevin Adams,
advantage?
we're all giving him a hard time. It's like, he's kind of right, though.
No, he's
Well,
Shouldn't have said that, but he's kind of right.
100% he's right.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But listen, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about the Edmonton Oilers and nobody wanted to go and play there. And all they've done quietly is become
Well
one of the most revenue-driven teams in the league. They're making it hand over fist in Edmonton. Same Edmonton that nobody wanted to go 10 years ago to.
Yeah.
Why?
They have
People
Josh
wanna
Allen,
go play with the
aka
best players
David
in the world.
and Draisaitl changed everything for
People
them.
want to play with elite players. Say what you will about Toronto.
Winners.
Joe Thornton and Patrick Marleau and those guys don't come here without Matthews and Marner.
They just
they
want-
come here because you want to play with good players.
And they believe that they can win.
They believe they own. Yes, they see the elites win.
And McDavid is literally the Josh Allen comparison that Kevin Adams made.
Yeah.
Where it's like they have Josh Allen, everybody wants to come. It's like, yeah, they'll go to Northern Alberta
Hey.
because they have the best player in the world.
Go find that guy. That's your job.
But no, it's
Jack Eichel wasn't it.
be
I'm not just saying.
be bad enough to get Gavin McKenna that's coming out of the Western League here that's lighting it up and underage. Like, be bad enough to get
every
him.
time there's an NHL draft where there's not a guy who's definitely the number one pick, I'm like, it's Yakupov here.
No,
it's Slavkovsky.
This Gavin McKenna coming out of the Western League.
got better numbers than
McDavid,
David, right?
Bedard,
Yeah.
like he's the next generational guy. So I guess you want to be bad enough in 2 years so you can draft him. That's how you get one. How do you get one? Like, how do you get one? You just get lucky.
You just get lucky.
You get lucky.
The stars align.
Or, it's rigged.
He believes the stars get aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I believe, and this is a great one for the National Hour. I believe the stars should have been aligned for the Leafs. That's what I believe. Anyways.
On that note, we'll remind people we're on TV tonight. Man, you've had a busy week, eh?
Yeah, doing some
And
things.
I kind of feel bad because you tell me your kid's in a Christmas pageant tonight.
Yeah.
And you're working away.
Yeah. Bad dad.
If it
I'll pay for their therapy.
if
later.
it if it makes you feel any better, I went to a few of those as a dad,
Yeah.
and I videotaped all of them.
Uh-huh.
And I never went back once to go watch it. Zero.
I promise my kids I'll watch
So
it
don't
with
worry about
them tomorrow.
Get the live barn. Got the live barn.
to the gym, yeah.
Yeah.
Also, my daughter's singing in French, and I don't know a lick of French, so what am I really?
You need the Versteeg clever app for your
Send me the
the
clips.
pageant. Yeah.
Clips of her
You're
shifts.
just missing one snotty kid on the stage.
Probably
right.
better not to be in that gym, to be honest. But I do wish I was. I'm not just saying.
Oh,
14 games on tap. There's some nice ones here too. I think Edmonton and Mini.
Yeah.
Could
good
we
game.
see that as a
That could be a
potential
conference final.
Conference final. Vegas and Winnipeg.
Love that.
Another one.
Jets 21-9 now after a 15-1 start.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was
just
more the
slaughtered
15-1 was unlikely.
the Bruins, though. They kicked.
We didn't even talk about that.
Yeah, we should give a little standing O for an 8-1 beatdown where the Bruins acted like children and the coaches were mad at each other.
And Marchand was like, someone asked Marchand about Swayman.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you hang out your goalie to dry? He's like, no, he's like us. He just stunk too.
I love that. They gave him like a total out, like, you guys made it hard on your goalie. He's like, I'm sorry. Did you see him play?
Yeah. Last time I checked, he stunk like the rest of us.
Yeah.
It's a perfect answer.
Didn't excuse him. That was great.
He's wearing equipment.
Tampa Bay and Calgary.
Tampa Bay, Calgary.
Did you see the disallowed
Florida,
goal at the very end? Tampa Bay's disallowed goal.
Against Edmonton?
Yeah.
Yeah, a couple
I
nights
thought
ago.
that was going to count.
Why? Do you think it
Well, I think
Did it go in the net?
it went in the net?
I thought it went in the
Yeah,
net
I
too,
don't think it
and I
did.
thought it bounced off of. I don't know if it was Bouchard or
hit
somebody.
someone then.
Hit somebody and
It was
went in.
Nurse. It was
Did you
Nurse.
see the goal review in Ottawa, Anaheim? Everyone on earth? No. But anyway, there was a close one.
Tell us about it.
There was they used the crossbar cam where you could see the back of the puck, but not the front of the puck
Yeah.
to prove it was a cross.
But it was.
But it was it.
I was watching.
It was like a judgment call.
You need a sketch artist to draw it out
here's
for
what
us.
happened.
All right. Told you it was the fastest 2 hours in hockey. Our thanks to Mike Rupp at the top of the hour and Scott Niedermayer, of course, in our Leaf Edition hour. Have a great night. Pick your game. And we're back tomorrow on Off the Rails Friday.
Pick Toronto, Anaheim. We'll be on.